The Mile High City has seen its share of legends, but today we face a crossroads that hits right at the heart of our defensive identity. Being an insider here, I've seen how quickly the front office can pivot when the salary cap starts to tighten. We aren't just talking about draft picks anymore. We are talking about the soul of our secondary. It feels like just yesterday we were celebrating draft night, but the reality of the business is already knocking on the door. Please subscribe now. Riley Moss is at the center of a brewing storm that could change the face of the Denver secondary before the next trade deadline even arrives. As we look at the roster following the 2026 draft, the front office is staring down a massive financial puzzle that involves several key pieces of our defense. Along with his teammate Jaquan McMillian, he is entering a crucial contract year, and the reality is that the team likely cannot afford to keep both. This situation is being driven by the looming massive extension for Bo Nix, which will eventually eat up a significant portion of the team's available cash. When you have a young quarterback who looks like a franchise cornerstone, you have to make sacrifices elsewhere, and that usually starts with the defensive backfield. The coaches really love what they have seen from Jaquan McMillian, especially since he has a natural knack for creating takeaways, something our defense desperately needed more of last season. On the other side, we have a young man who fought through a lot of adversity to find his footing on the outside. If the team decides they cannot pay both cornerbacks, they might look to trade one of them to get value now, instead of waiting for a potential compensatory pick years down the line. It is a classic NFL dilemma where you have to choose between two talented players because the bank account only has so much room. The decision will also depend heavily on how the younger guys like Jahdae Barron develop during their second year in the system. We also have to keep an eye on priority free agent Brent Austin, who could make someone like the veteran tradable if he flashes enough during training camp. This is not just about talent. It is about the cold, hard numbers of the NFL salary cap. Fans have grown attached to these players, but the front office has to look 3 years down the road. They are trying to build a sustainable winner around their new quarterback, and that requires making these incredibly difficult choices. We are seeing the beginning of a transition that will define the next era of Broncos football, and it starts with figuring out who stays and who goes right now today. The evolution of our secondary has been one of the most fascinating storylines to watch from the sidelines at Broncos Park. When we look at how the young corner has progressed, it is clear that he has the physical tools to be a mainstay in this league for a very long time. However, last season was a bit of a roller coaster for him, specifically when it came to those frustrating yellow flags. He actually led the league in penalties for a significant stretch of the year, which had many of us in the press box scratching our heads. It seemed like every time there was a big third down stop, a flag would fly because he was just a little too aggressive with his hands. But to his credit, the young man showed incredible mental toughness and adjusted his technique as the season went on. By the time the playoffs rolled around, he had significantly cut down on the grabbiness that was hurting the team. That kind of growth is exactly what coaches want to see, but it also makes him a very attractive asset for other teams looking for help in their defensive backfield. If he continues to play that clean, lockdown style of football, his trade value will only go up as the deadline approaches. He provides a certain level of length and speed that is hard to find, and he isn't afraid to stick his nose in there against the run. This creates a fascinating what-if scenario for the front office. If the defense is playing lights out and we are in the hunt for a division title, can you really afford to ship him away? On the other hand, if a team offers a high draft pick for a player you might lose for nothing in 6 months, do you take the deal? The locker room certainly feels his impact, and the chemistry he has built with the rest of the guys is palpable during practice. He has become a leader by example, showing the rookies how to study film and correct mistakes on the fly. Whether he is in Denver for the long haul or ends up being part of a major trade, his development has been a bright spot for this entire organization today. This whole situation boils down to one very simple reality. The Broncos have to decide how they want to build for the future. In the simplest terms possible, keeping both of these talented cornerbacks might be impossible because of the money. If the team decides to move on, it could help them win more games in the future by bringing in more draft picks. However, trading away a starting caliber player right now carries a massive risk for the upcoming season. Just look at the schedule we are facing this year. We are going up against a murderer's row of elite quarterbacks who can shred a secondary if there is even one weak link. If we trade away a veteran presence, and the young guys aren't ready, our defense could fall apart. This would make it much harder for the team to stay competitive in a very tough division. Fans want to see wins now, but the general manager has to think about how to keep the team strong for the next 5 years. If they let these players walk away for nothing at the end of the year, it feels like a wasted opportunity. But if they trade them and the season goes south, the fans will be furious. It is a high-stakes game of poker where the cards are the players' contracts, and the pot is a Super Bowl run. We have seen this story before in Denver, where tough decisions had to be made about fan-favorite veterans. It never gets easier to see a good player leave, but sometimes it is the only way to keep the overall roster healthy. The human side of this is also important, because these guys have families and roots in the community. They are playing for their next big paycheck, and they know the eyes of the entire league are on them. Every snap they take this season will either increase their value or make the team's decision easier. The consequences of this choice will be felt for years, not just weeks. This is the part of the business that doesn't show up in highlight reels, but it is exactly what determines who holds the trophy later in February. Imagine a world where everything clicks perfectly for this Denver defense this fall. In the best-case scenario, the coaching staff decides to keep the secondary intact for the entire season. The veterans stay healthy, the penalties remain a thing of the past, and the defense becomes a brick wall that carries the team into a deep playoff run. In this version of reality, the front office decides that winning right now is more important than future draft picks. They ride with their best players and hope the compensatory pick system rewards them later. This would be a massive boost for the fans who are hungry for another championship parade through downtown. But now, let's look at the darker path. Imagine the team struggles early on, and the pressure to get younger and cheaper starts to mount. They decide to trade away a key starter in October to a contender. Suddenly, a massive hole opens up in the defense. The remaining players are overworked, and the younger replacements get exposed by veteran quarterbacks. The season starts to slip away, and the locker room loses that sense of stability. This is the tension that keeps coaches up late at night. One move can be the difference between a season of joy and a season of what went wrong. If the trade works, the general manager looks like a genius who set the team up for a decade of success around a cheap rookie contract. But if it fails, the team takes a massive step backward during a critical window of competition. We are essentially watching a high-wire act where the margin for error is razor-thin. The emotional weight of these decisions is heavy because we all want what is best for the Broncos. We want to see the orange and blue succeed every Sunday. The front office has to balance that passion with the cold reality of the NFL's rules. Every practice and every preseason game will be a test to see which path the team chooses. The stakes couldn't be higher for this organization right now. One mistake in judgment could haunt the team for several seasons to come forever. To wrap everything up, the Broncos are in a very tough spot with their talented cornerbacks. They have 2 great players in contract years and a franchise quarterback who is going to earn a massive paycheck very soon. The math just doesn't add up to keep everyone. Trading a starter like this is a huge gamble that could either provide a treasure chest of draft picks or leave the defense totally vulnerable to the elite quarterbacks on our schedule. As an insider who spends every day around this facility, I can tell you the tension is real. The fans deserve a team that can compete at the highest level, but the business side of football is often cruel. Be honest with me, would you rather trade a star player now to get a high draft pick, or risk losing him for nothing just to have a better chance at winning this year? It is the ultimate question for any true member of Broncos country. I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you love this team as much as I do, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to turn on notifications to stay updated.